You're listening to the City World Radio Network, high-definition digital radio broadcasting from the city to the world. www.cityworldradio.com.
Gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time once again for the Johnny Mandolin Show, broadcasting live from New York City. Tonight I have a great guest, a repeat guest, one of our favorites. It's Artie the Cigar Guy, Artie Cigars. He'll be on our show tonight. We're going to be talking cigars and much, much more. So stand by, because we've got a great show for you, and we're going live on City World Radio, simulcast on Italian American Radio. Don't touch that mouse. Coming right at you. Oh, yeah. Our theme song, Anello's Blues, bringing us to another fun Johnny Mandolin show. We're broadcasting here on City World Radio and simulcast on ItalianAmericanRadio.com. So we're all over the place. I always say we're all over the world, and next week we're expanding.
Oh, yeah, where?
On Mars. So so I think so. So to the mic, I want to bring Artie Cigars, my very good friend, one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met on cigars, not just because he knows a lot, but because he knows about the style, the consistency, and the lifestyle of cigars. So, Artie, thanks for coming.
Damn, that is a great intro. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here every single time, man.
Well, it's great. Well, you know what you're doing, and it's a lot of fun. I want to remind all our listeners, especially the ones out in California, Colorado, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Miami, Rome, Moscow. We love you guys. Keep writing to us. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you want to hear. Write to me at johnsexton@AOL.com. That's JOHNCEXTON, like the record label, at AOL.com. And that reminds me, we're sponsored tonight and every night by Sexton Records, audiophile jazz, big band, and Italian-American music, and that's CEXTON.com, Sexton with a C. So to the mic is Mr. Artie Cigars. How you doing?
Yeah. Glad to be back. I mean, it's been a really, really wild week for cigars. So as soon as you gave me an opportunity to come on and kind of like let the people know about what's happening, I had to say yes. You know what I mean?
Glad you did.
Yeah, it's actually quite crazy. And even though, I am mostly known about talking about cigars, this spans way farther than that. You know what I mean? Cigars is actually on the lowest tier of what's happening. I mean, do you want me to just jump right in, or?
Jump right in, buddy.
Okay. So recently, a couple of major things, and this has personally affected people that I know, where juices, the flavors are now illegal. Okay, this has completely put businesses out of jail. I feel like this is tyranny to the highest degree. But, they used this, the veil that they use is that it attracts children. Now, veil is a strong word because, fruity flavors, things called unicorn poop do attract children. But the malicious thing, I think, the most is that they added all these little amendments, these little things in there that affect tobacco. So, when we're talking about tobacco, let's say loose, right? What they did now is that they took loose tobacco and they made it so that you can't buy the pouches anymore. So no more tops, no more Nat Shermans, no more, I haven't smoked these in a while. The name eludes me. Anyway, if you smoke loose tobacco, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They have all these pouches and no longer are they allowed to be sold. But you're still allowed to buy tobacco by the pound. So they're not allowed to buy you little, small amounts. That's probably like a pack or a pack and a half. You have to buy a pound, which is like the equivalent of a carton. That is still legal.
Well, Artie, I always see the government in an overreach. In an effort to try and solve a problem, they overreach, and they pass many laws that are related to other laws that almost always impede on people's freedom and First Amendment or any amendment rights.
Well, right now we can, luckily, in this particular situation, there's definitely a finger that can be pointed. So there's a company called Altira. Altira owns high stakes in, cigarette tobacco. They also own cigars. They own Nat Sherman and a couple other brands. So they're not completely out of the rig, and, they have almost no stakes in vape. So they pretty much are the ones that are lobbying, throwing millions of dollars at, politicians, made this happen. Now, we spoke about the vape. We spoke about the loose tobacco. The cigars also got affected in a very, very great way. The federal tax has been increased to about 50%. Not the governor, I think one of the senators of New York has also increased the rate to an additional 70%, but not as long as increasing the rates, they also changed the way that the cigars are taxed. So now instead of per box or per cigar being taxed, they tax by the pound.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, I always think this kind of taxation is theft anyway. But you see, there are certain rights in the Constitution that we have, and they can't really stop those rights. So what they do is they make it financially almost impossible for you to deal with it, and that's how they get around it. And they do that with cigars. They do that with automobiles. They do that with firearms, where they tax you to the point where it's almost you can't do it, not because you don't want it, but because you can't afford it.
Well, you want to know what's crazy? Let me.
Oh wait, we have a mic problem here. Let's just check your mic and see if it's.
Hey, are we good to go?
Yes,
yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry, I have like these traveling hands. Sometimes they hit the wrong thing. So what I was getting at is I want to give you an example just to show you how absurd this is. Okay, imagine you have a cow, right? You cut the cow up into the different pieces. Now imagine you want to buy a 2-pound steak, right? You pay certain pounds on that 2-pound steak. Let's say it's 10%. Imagine if you want to buy a 4-pound steak instead of the same 10% tax, which makes sense to you and me, correct? You have to pay a 15% tax. That is the equivalent of what's happening here with the cigars.
Oh, I know. It's tragic.
So stupid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just because I want to produce more of something, I have to pay higher taxes. Yeah. I think it's crazy.
Well, just remember that when they use taxation to prevent you from your constitutional rights, it's theft, it's illegal, and it's unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. A gun license in California, the governor there just raised the price from $100 to $1,200. In Arizona, and it's good for 1 year. Mm-hmm. In Arizona, it's $10, and it's good for 5 years. Now, so what they're doing is they're basically using money, taxes, to make it so that only the rich can have it.
But listen, I'll be honest. I'm like a centrist, left-leaning, right? You're right-leaning. That's fine.
But I'm a centrist.
Centrists are pretty much the same. I find that centrists, when they are left or right-leaning, it's usually about taxes and about gun control, which it's not that big of a deal. Like, so what I'll say is this: the biggest issue I find is when you're looking at, let's say, you know what? I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Well, no, we're just talking about taxes. See, if they can't stop you from having your right because it's in the Constitution, they stop you with taxing you, and thus the cigars. That they'll say, "Oh no, you have the right to smoke a cigar. You can have a cigar anytime you want, but there's a $25 tax on every cigar.
You got to pay a ton about it."
So
exactly.
They F you that way,
And they use it under the guise of, let's say, trying to kind of not manipulate, but force society to kind of take a healthier stance by making monetary value. Like, if something is like $50 when it used to be $10, you're definitely not likely to buy it. Mm-hmm. But the biggest issue is that when you do these kind of things, you know what you do? You open up the black market.
Yeah,
you know what I love doing?
Did we learn anything from Prohibition?
Yeah. You know what I love doing? I love going. You go to Bensonhurst. Bensonhurst is a nice town. I know we have international.
Neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, it used to be. Keyword. Right. So I go there now, and by the way, that's in Brooklyn, New York, just for our international viewers. And you go there, and you go to a Chinese market. Now, this Chinese market is quite a wonderful place. They sell like these Chinese dried fishes and all these herbs and stuff. You go to the back. There's a woman. You come up to her. You give her $10, and she gives you a whole carton of cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what is going to end up happening all the time when, when you raise the taxes like crazy.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
The government's learned nothing from Prohibition. They've learned nothing from, all they see is tax and spend. And, I have a lot of Republican friends. I have a lot of Democratic friends. I am neither, and I'm glad to be a libertarian, registered and for a long time. But we're not a political show, so I'm not going to get into politics.
Let's not do it.
No, I don't care what your politics is. The bottom line is, don't clobber people with high fees and money to take away their rights. Mm-hmm. I don't care what your right is, whether it's the right to own a gun or the right to have an abortion. I don't care.
Well, the way I see it, and hopefully I'm not delving into these politics that we just said we were going to avoid, but I feel like right now we're in a state that I consider like testing. Like we're trying out, certain experiments in certain areas, right? We're looking at the results as the experiment goes on, and they don't look too great sometimes, but in some places we're seeing like, hey, that works, or hey, this is nice. You know what I mean? So it's an experimental phase. I don't know why people get so damn upset as if the country's going to hell. The country's not going to hell. The country's just trying to learn.
Yeah, well, let's hope they learn.
Well, it's having what I call learning pains. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Let's hope so.
Well, no, you okay? So you're saying let's hope so. When I hear guys saying let's hope so, they like civil war.
No civil war. I'm serious. Let's hope so. Let's hope they learn.
Yeah.
Because only through education are people going to realize that your constitutional rights are precious, and when you give them up, you don't get them back.
I have a plan. Mass countrywide barbecues. What? Are you kidding me?
That would work, except to vegans.
Okay, well, it's all right. The vegans can have vegan ones. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they can have
people will go out and
grilled artichokes.
Can I tell you something? I've seen liberals and Democrats and Republicans having the best time of their lives at barbecues, not giving a shit about Trump or whatever.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So we need to have barbecues all over the world, and I think we'll create world peace.
I say Artie for president. Yeah, I think we have a new thing. I think we have a new thing here.
When people are eating delicious, fried, fatty, glazed with delicious sauce, how can you be mad?
Yeah, and I don't care if you're a vegan, then you're eating a glazed, delicious, fatty cucumber.
Listen, I went to Smash Burger the other day, and I had their mushroom burger. I was very satisfied.
Was it a religious experience?
It wasn't religious, but I was like, hey, listen, this is not bad.
But it made you a believer.
It just made me realize that vegans don't have it as bad as I thought.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking with Artie, the cigar guy, and we're going to have a lot more chit-chat on that. Oh, I have really big news. All my listeners, I want you to listen. My show is now at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. which is 3 p.m. in California, and I believe it's about 10 or 11 o'clock in Italy. We have a lot of listeners in Italy. But right before my show, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 o'clock in California, Artie, the cigar guy, is going to have his own show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you got to tune in. It starts next week. That's next Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 o'clock in California. Tune in and check out Artie. He's got a great show. This guy's got so much stuff to share with you. You're going to love the show. And then right after that, Johnny Mandolin. How do you beat that?
It's going to be great.
All right, we're going to take a little music break here. You know, I have a wonderful daughter. Her name is Maria Nello, and my listeners already know her. She's a professional opera singer, but she also sings great jazz. She has a new jazz CD coming out, and she's amazing. You can see her at marianello.com. That's MarieAnello, marianello.com. We're going to hear from her new CD, Let's Fall in Love.
Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. In Spain the best upper sets do it. Lithuanians, let's do it, let's do it, let's fall in love. The Dutch in old Amsterdam do it, not to mention the Finns. Folks in Siam do it, think of Siamese twins. Some Argentines without means do it. People say in Boston even beans do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Romantic sponges, they say, do it. Oysters down in Oyster Bay, do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Cold Cape Cod clams against their wish, do it. Even lazy jellyfish, do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Electric eels, I might add, do it. Though sharks are mine now. Why ask if shad do it? Waiter, bring me shad roe in shallow shows. English souls do it. Goldfish in the privacy of bowls do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Let's do it, let's fall in love.
Maria Nello, marianello.com. Check her out. She's a professional opera singer and a great jazz singer, too. A lot of fun. marianello.com. Hey, I want to give a shout-out to a wonderful guy who listens to us every week. He's in California. His name is Phil Gonzalez. He's a personal trainer, and he is a wonderful guy, a good friend of mine. He's our California contingent, and we have a lot of California listeners. And also I want to give a shout-out to a woman who is beyond amazing. It's hard for me to put into words how amazing she is. She's a poet. She's an author. She's an actress. She's a writer. She's a radio show host every Tuesday night right here on City World Radio, and that's Miss Mia Berman. If you've missed Mia's show on Tuesday, you've missed an event. Check her out Tuesday nights on City World Radio, Mia Berman. So back with Artie. So, I understand there's a couple of new cigar brands floating that you've mentioned.
Well, I think something that's worth trying. So there's this one brand called Crown Heads, which I really like. They do a lot of good work with Nicaraguan tobacco, and every year they come out with a line called Las Calaveras. Okay? Now, it started, not going to say, I don't remember. I don't want to quote you the wrong stuff, but it started several years ago. And every year they come out with a new cigar, new band, you know what I mean? That's a different color. Now, you know how I am. I'm not going to hold back. Last year's was garbage. The year before that, the 2018 was horrible. It had a green band. The 2017 was magnificent. It had a black band. Before that was the white band, the blue band. They were okay. Then came out the 2019. The 2019 Calaveras with the red band is off the hook. It's so the problem with the green, the 2018 Calaveras, is that it was weak. You know, they pumped out these cigars full of flavor, full of power, and everybody was excited always because they had this fantastic flavor. But then you come out with something that's mild and not so flavorful, and people are just like,
Yeah, I get it.
I was worried. But then they came out with the 2019, and it is off the hook.
And the brand name is?
Las Calaveras, made by Crown Heads.
Wow, this is one you guys, all my cigar listeners, got to try out.
Yeah, it's good.
You know, every time Artie recommends a cigar, I get all these emails afterwards going, "Oh my God, that was so great! I didn't know it existed."
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. I mean, there's really a whole bunch that are worth mentioning. Now, the thing that came out like about a month ago is the TAAs. TAAs is the Tobacco Association of America, and what they do is they are the ones that kind of fight for mom and pop shops, and these brands make cigars like TAA editions, right? So this year the TAA Tatuaje was off the hook. It was like nice and square. Okay, it has a nice and dark wrapper, and it pulled amazing, and that was one of my favorites. If you ever see a cigar that has a TAA brand on it, it's actually worth making. The people that make the TAA cigars, they go out of their way to make them for mom and pop shops. You know what I mean? Because these big companies, they are, even though they are important, they have their place. The mom and pop shops are the where it started, so you got to kind of have respect for that. You know what I mean? So that's why the TAA always takes the meticulous care to make cigars that are quite exceptional. Personally, I think the best TAA would probably be the Padron when they came out with the 89 Black. It's a cigar that's not that easy to get. It's Padron. I tried it. I would say that it's somewhere in the middle of 1,000 series mixed with the 64. It's quite interesting, but it's quite delicious. Of course, like all of the Padrones, it comes with a natural and a Maduro. So if you want to go on the higher end, go for the Padron TAA. If you're not going too crazy, you know, try all the other ones. The Tatuaje, those are all also nice to try. But it's important. It's important, and I'm going to just kind of circle back to this. I know I'm repeating myself at this point, but support your local mom and pop shops. You know what I mean? The last thing that any of us would want is and even though I used to work for big corporations, and again, they do play their part, there needs to be a balance. You know what I mean? Because
I agree.
There's nothing worse than when you go to a town and there's just nothing there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The reason that is because you can just order for really cheap online. Why the hell would you go to a store? You know what I mean? But hey, let's get back to the laws real quick. What's funny is they're also working on a law where you are going to have to pay the tax of the state that the cigars are being shipped to. So all these people that are getting all these fantastic prices from companies that are shipping from Virginia or Connecticut, oh boy, by the end of this year, they're not going to be happy at all.
Well, I get all mine online from Tampa and from, Philadelphia. Cigar Bid holds.
Yeah. It won't matter no more. Soon it won't matter. Soon,
tragic.
Soon you're going to have to be paying that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful New York tax.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Michael Bloomberg, idiot. But
that had nothing to do with Bloomberg. That was federal.
Well, I know, but he originally passed the $5 cigar
well,
tax.
Bloomberg was the one that I would say kind of made cigars closer to cigarettes or tobacco or all that shit. Like cigars were usually completely separate. Cigars were like, I don't know how to explain it. You go to a farm and you buy apples. That's like cigarettes. A cigar is like the Gordon Ramsay filet mignon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And nobody in their right mind would put them together. But somebody was like, you know what? We're going to tax the apples the same way we do the filet mignon.
Yeah.
Bunch of dicks. Sorry.
I know. You're right. Hey, I want to remind you, listening to City World Radio and also to ItalianAmericanRadio.com. We have some great shows on Italian American Radio, including a wonderful Italian comedian. His name is Mike Marino. MikeMarino.net, N-E-T. Check out MikeMarino.net. He's got a new campaign. He's running for president. His campaign is called Make America Italian Again. So he's doing great. And I want to encourage everybody to keep listening. I want to remind you that Artie's got a new show coming up. It's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time starting next Monday. The man is a wealth of information. Do not miss it. I want to say a special shout-out. I already said it. My friend Phil Gonzalez, who's out in California, gets all our California listeners for us, and he's an amazing guy. We got to get him to New York. He's never seen New York. We got to drag him out here, between the nightlife and the women and the...
Where's he from?
He's Southern California, Orange County. We got to drag him out.
Look, it depends. So, right, if he's living in SoCal, he's probably having a nice life, beaches.
Oh, he's having a great life. He's a genius.
When you bring like Southern California people or California people to New York in general, there's the kind that wants to be here, that wants to kind of be the the executive or whatever. But then most of them get depressed because they're like, oh, this place fucking sucks.
No, that's not going to happen. Let me tell you, first class. When he sees this place, he's going to go nuts. And you know why.
I mean, no, there's a lot of great things about the city, to be honest. But it's, how do I explain?
Well, it's an acquired taste, but once you learn it, Now, I grew up here, so it's different for me. But I'm telling you, once everybody I've ever brought from the Midwest or the West Coast of California to New York, absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is take them to a really good pizza place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Game over.
I mean, that's... Okay, maybe what I'm going to say is the most controversial thing I've ever said in my life. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but New York has the best pizza in the world.
Well, I agree. Well, I have to say, I don't know what's going on in Italy.
Be careful. Be careful what you say next.
But it is truly great pizza, and I'm sure there's great pizza all over, but New York pizza, oh, man, the water.
You know what? Here's my personal opinion. So when you're eating New York pizza, right? Whenever I'm eating New York pizza, I never think like I'm sitting down for a meal. I think pizza. I'm going to shove this in my face at the speed that's humanly possible, and I'm going to go on my way. But if you go to like a really fancy Italian spot here in the city, or if you go to Italy, which I've never been to, but I've been to surrounding countries and they have Italian-style pizzas there, it's almost like it's like a dish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've seen people there eating pizza with a knife and a fork, and people are totally cool with it.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Well, in Chicago, I have a lot of friends from Chicago who like the deep dish.
Mm-hmm.
I like the thin crust. It's all about what you like. There's no right or wrong. It's what you love. And just keep eating.
Well, I think I'm...
Tutto mangiamo.
I am on your side. I am a thin crust guy all the way to the end, because I feel like it's all about balance. I feel like thick crust pizzas are sloppy. The reason they need to have a thick crust is because you can't have a little bit of bread and a shitload of toppings. And when they put the toppings on, they like blah, 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 blah. They go in hard, and they But thin crust is almost like an art. It's like almost like you're a painter.
Yeah.
You know
what I
mean?
always get mine a little well done too, because I don't like it soggy. I like it a little crispy.
Oh, the crisp, those little crispy notes. Those are the best.
One of our favorite places that we always advertise here is Arturo's, which is in the West Village. It's 106 West Houston Street, 70-year-old family-owned pizza place, but they have a coal oven, and they do it on the coals. And a coal oven pizza is defies description. It's too much fun.
Coal always gives the smokiness.
Oh yeah, and the little burn on the bottom.
Yeah, wood does similar, but the coal is just.
I'm getting hungry.
Me too. I'm starving.
I think we got to take a break and go eat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
play that music, Jay. Let's get out of here.
No, we'll be back. Hey, you listen to the Johnny Mandolin Show here on City World Radio, simulcast on Italian American Radio. Our sponsor is Sexton Records. That's CEXTON.com. And we're going to hear some more from Marie Anello, It's Only a Paper Moon, from her new jazz CD. And in the meantime, stand by, because I'll be right back with Artie Cigars and lots more cigar chat. Marie Anello. Check out marieanello.com for that great music. Hey.
That was awesome.
Oh, thank you, Artie. So, Artie, I have a question for you. I just gave you a cigar, and I just discovered this because I love La Gloria Cubana Series R, but I just found out about the black.
Oh,
what do you know?
Okay, so the Series R, right, the regular one, is pretty much it's one of the stronger, most well-known La Gloria Cubanas. The black is pretty much if you take the regular La Gloria Cubana Series R and you add a nice darker wrapper to it, that's pretty much what you get with the Series Black. The blend might be redone just a little bit, but as I've tried both of them, they're pretty similar. And I will say that I do enjoy the black a little bit better, even though it's black, so it sounds like it should be stronger. I find it to be smoother and more flavorful. Now, as far
I found the same thing.
Yeah, as far as La Gloria Cubana goes, this is actually a company that formerly used to be not formerly, it still exists. It started off in Cuba. The glory of Cuba, and the Gloria Cubana is quite an interesting smoke as far as the Cubans go. I'll tell you why. They will fuck you up. Like, they are so strong. So their Medalla de Oro, which means gold medal series, it's a bunch of cigars that have pretty much a thin build, right? They're thin cigars of different sizes. And even though they're so thin, like if you don't have a whole glass of whiskey, maybe a Gatorade on the side, maybe a fire extinguisher on the other side, you're gonna need some help because these cigars are strong as hell. And again, I'm talking about the thin ones. The bigger ones are even harder to handle. These I find to be smoother, but these are great cigars. Now, I can't speak for online prices just because it's not really my field of expertise. But if we're going to be talking about New York prices of the cigars, this is another thing. The Series R regular is about $14 to $15 for this size. The R's are like $9. It's very strange.
Yeah, I noticed they're less. Now, I have to tell you, I found something interesting, and I'm sure you know about it, but
Sure.
there's a website called cigarbid.com, and they have a thing on cigarbid.com called Freefall.
Yeah.
And what you do is you go on and you pick a cigar brand you like, whether it's La Gloria Cubana or Nub or Perdomo or whatever. And whatever they have a pack of 5, a pack of 10, a whole box. And they give you the MSRP. And those of you who shop know that means manufacturer's retail suggested price. And suggested retail price. So they give you that price. So let's say a box of these are $127. And then the price starts to fall. And it goes lower, 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 lower. It goes all the way down, and then it bumps back up. So you watch this 2 or 3 times, and you figure out where's the lowest point. And when it gets down, you nail it. You say, buy it. It's like an auction. Buy it. And you can get it at a very low price. Now, I bought a box of these. They were $138 for a box, and I bought a box for $59 on cigarbid.com.
Of 20?
20, yeah.
Oh,
Maybe 25. So it was just a incredible deal. So this cigarbid.com is just kind of a really nice website. Now, I also use Holt, Thompson, Cigars International. But buying cigars online, at least right now, saves you a lot of tax money and gives you great prices.
Yeah.
But I still support my local cigar lounge. I go to the cigar lounge, and the first thing I do is I buy their house brand because I support them.
Look, the worst thing that could possibly happen to the cigar industry as a whole is if we turn into just a land of like Walmarts for cigars. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If we cut out, because look, like you go to a Walmart, realistically, there's nobody there that gives a shit about what you want. You ask them a question, they're just going to do their job. They're going to tell you aisle 5, blah blah blah. Some of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met in my life about cigars, me included, you'll find in a place like a cigar lounge.
I agree, and like I said, when I walk into a cigar lounge, the first thing I do, even before I say hello to the owner, I walk into the humidor, and usually somebody will follow you in, and I say, what's your best cigars? And whatever their best cigars is, I don't care what the price is, I'm going to buy one because I want them to know I'm there to support them. Yeah, I bring my own cigars too because I'm going to have more than one, but I always make sure that I buy 1 or 2 of their best or their house brand, which they're very proud of.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, but unfortunately in this business, that's not always the case. You know, as when I worked in the inn, there's unfortunately plenty of times when guys would take advantage of that, you know.
No, you got to support the owner. He's paying the rent.
Yeah, it's quite a shame. Some guys, they have absolutely no respect. And let me explain to you how it plays out. Okay, so a guy comes in. Let's say he's a foreigner, Italian, right? Italian diplomat walks in. This has happened. Walks in, takes out his big fancy cigar holder thing, right? Whips out a nice, let's say, $100 Cuban, right? Sits down. Doesn't come to the table, nothing. Just sits at the chair. Sits and sits and sits and sits. Sits and sits. Eventually comes up back to the counter and he's like, is somebody going to come over and cut my cigar for me? And I'm just like,
no.
Excuse me? Like, he's like, yeah, usually somebody comes and cuts my cigar. I'm like, well, my friend, we have a cutter right here. We have a lighter right here. You can be my guest. So he puts the cigar, like he puts his hand out with the cigar in it. I'm just kind of like confused about it. So apparently he wanted me to take the cigar and cut it for him. Okay, no problem. I take the cigar, I cut it for him, give it back to him. He puts it in his mouth and just stands there. Just stands there and grills at me. You know what I mean? With this fucking Behique in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. He's like, you're gonna light, yeah, with the cigar in his mouth. You're gonna light it. You're gonna light it. You know. So I'm like, okay. So I take the lighter. I light his cigar. Goes and sits back down. You know what I mean? Like, what a piece of shit already.
No,
Okay?
that's not supportive.
Well, no, not at all. He lit a $150 cigar in front of me. Not only could he not light it himself, he made me cut it for him and light it for him without. You know, some people like that.
Yeah.
They ask.
That's not manners.
No, but they ask. They're like, do you mind cutting it and lighting it for me? And I say, hell yeah, that's my job. I love doing that. I'll do that for you. But just his mannerisms pissed me off. Now, next, he sits down, right? So now everybody, because like there's a couple other workers behind the counter, they're just thinking like, okay, what the hell was that? And this guy didn't buy nothing. He didn't buy a drink. He didn't buy a cigar, nothing. So, you know, my manager comes over to him. He's like, sir, you know, like we know, you know, like they're smoking your cigar, but you're going to have to pay a cutting fee. And this guy loses his shit. It's as if we came over and, like, insulted his mother. You know what I mean? He's like, I cannot believe that this is the kind of... I'm doing Chinese. I'm sorry. I don't know why that came
I
out.
understand the
He
point.
just, like,
he's
a
just
foreign
rude.
accent, just acting as if we, like, shit on his fucking parade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All we did was ask him to pay $10
Yeah.
to support the business when he's smoking a $150 cigar.
Yeah. Well, number one, I don't think there's anything
Excuse me.
wrong with a cutting fee because if you're bringing your own cigars, it's not only a good thing to do, but you are actually doing yourself a favor because you're bringing your favorite cigar and you're paying them kind of a thank you for allowing you to smoke there. And like I said, if I go to a cigar lounge, I'm the one who's always the first one in the humidor saying, okay, what do you like? What do you love? What's good? What's new? Because I don't mind spending that money because I know, number one, he's paying rent, electric, gas, tax. And number two, I have a place I can sit in a nice big leather chair with my favorite drink and smoke. I can't do that in my house. I'm glad to do it there. I'm glad. I mean, he's doing me a favor. So, you know, it's that kind of thing that I really like. So Artie raises a good point. You know, those of us who are cigar smokers, and I know that there are cigar smokers all over the United States, all over the world, and we have some great cigar smoking lounges in California where I live when I'm not here. You know, I live back and forth. I work bi-coastally. And in Florida, I've been to some great ones. And it's all about respect. It's just all about it's simple respect.
Look, if you ever feel like, let's say you're here in the States, and you have a beautiful, beautiful Cuban cigar. It's shitty weather outside, and you want to go inside of a cigar lounge to smoke it. You want to know the best way to pull it off? I'll tell you exactly what is the best way, right, to treat the establishment that you're going to. Go in the humidor, buy a nice, I don't know, $20 cigar, Liga Privada, Padron, whatever, right? Put that in the baggie, and when you leave, give them a $10 tip. You walk out of there with a nice cigar, you smoke a nice cigar, you give the hostess a tip, everybody wins, you're not an asshole, and you walk out with a nice $20 tip.
Well, I believe in, you know, there's a funny old movie with Steve Martin in it. It's called My Blue Heaven. And in the movie he says, don't tip, over tip. And I always do that because if I see somebody like one of the girls like at one of the cigar lounges, you know, is your water glass filled? Is there anything else you like? She's working hard. She's going to get a tip. And some of them said, no, I don't take tips. I go, no, you take tips. Here you go, you know. Hey, we're talking with Artie Cigar. We're having a really good time. We're talking philosophy and cigars. We're going to take a little musical break here. You know, I usually play Italian music on the mandolin, but I also play jazz. And I have a jazz album out. It's called 8-String Swing. And it's just really fun, kind of Django Reinhardt type jazz. And the song we're going to do is a song by a wonderful composer called Thelonious Monk. And this tune is called Well You Needn't, but it's on mandolin. Check it out. Oh, yeah, Well You Needn't, Thelonious Monk. That's me on mandolin, Dave Murdy on guitar, the amazing Valerie Clementi on bass, and Ray Genovese on drums, recorded live. It's on the Sexton label. That's CEXTON.com. 8-string swing, Well You Needn't. So we're talking with Artie Cigars here, and Artie, we were talking about ring gauge on a cigar. Now, ring gauge, for those of you who aren't cigar smokers, basically is the thickness, the fatness, the circumference of the cigar. Does it make a difference or not?
Absolutely.
How?
Okay, so here's the deal. Ring gauge, if we're going to talk about ring gauge, we're going to throw length into that mix as well. So size. We're going to talk about size. So the size of the cigar does affect the smoke a lot. And the reason that is because, let's say you have a Lancero, which is something, for all our more experienced cigar smokers, you'll understand a 40 is thinner. Then you have something like a 60, which is fatter.
Right, long and skinny.
Yeah. So the amount of tobacco leaves that you use in a 40 as compared to a 60 is different. Not only is the amount of leaves that you use, but sometimes the blend itself gets changed, right? So let me give you a quick example. One of my favorite cigars right now is called the Romeo and Julieta Nicaragua. It's great. It's made by Plasencia Cigars. It's one of my favorite cigars of 2019. And it's never disappointed me. It's great. And they have a beautiful Churchill size, which is my favorite. But then the Churchill, just for perspective, is about a 48 by 7. Mine might be off by there. It might be a couple of ring gauges, maybe a 50, whatever. Similar. But then they have a 6 by 60. And I can't stand the 6 by 60. The 6 by 60 gets way too hot, way too peppery, because they put way more of that dark tobacco in it, because you need to use more tobacco when you're rolling the cigar. But in my opinion, the Churchill, which is a couple of ring gauges smaller, you use a couple of less dark leaves, different balance in the cigar, tastes marvelous, one of my favorites.
So that's interesting you bring that up, because let's talk about the thermodynamics in a cigar. So a bigger, larger cigar, how does that burn compared to a smaller, thinner cigar?
Well, okay, so are we talking about burn? The size of the cigar, I would say, matters not too much on how the burn works. Yes, a thicker cigar will burn slower, but at the same time, you got to remember that the flame, the fire, the ash that covers the surface covers the whole surface of the cigar. So you can't really say that it burns slower than, let's say, a smaller ring gauge cigar. I kind of disagree with that, but there are a couple of things, a couple of factors that do factor in. So how much you pull, right? When you have a thicker cigar, you're not going to pull on it as much as a thinner cigar, because you're going to get way much more smoke in a little puff than you are if you're smoking, let's say, a 15 ring gauge or a 40 ring gauge, which is like a Lancero. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
okay.
That's very important.
Also, speed is very important, right? Some people are power smokers. Shout out to the weatherman. They smoke like as if their life depends on it. And their ashes are always messed up, and it doesn't matter what they're smoking. They can be smoking the fattest cigar on earth or the thinnest cigar on earth. It's always going to burn like shit because they're like trains. You know what I mean? So the way you smoke the cigar also matters. Personally, and this is an opinion, so, don't act like I'm trying to tell people how to smoke their cigars, but I like to smoke, quite slowly. You know what I mean? Really enjoy the nitty-gritty of it. You know what I mean? Enjoy the vapors coming off the cigar. That's my personal way. Because not only does that, in my way, improve the enjoyment of the cigar, but also leads to a cleaner burn. The cigar doesn't heat up as much, and the ash is perfect.
I agree with you, because for me, the one time I can really relax, the one time I can really not be on the cell phone, not be on the computer, is when I'm smoking a cigar, and I never rush it.
Yeah. So sometimes I do manage to grab my phone when I'm smoking a cigar, check out the news, check out this and that. It's not my favorite.
But it's still relaxing. You're not in a hurry to make a call.
I honestly love just conversating with people over a cigar. You know what I mean? I find that to be like the best kind of thing. It's almost like a meditation, right? Some people say it's almost ritualistic. The cutting, the lighting, the smoking, the taking off of the band, the ashing, there's a whole process to it, and I feel like a lot of people, they always say that they feel so super duper relaxed, and yes, it might just be all the nicotine pumping through your veins, making your brain make the happy chemicals, but at the same time, there's and a lot of cigar smokers that tend to have this kind of feature, they're daily smokers, right? So they have their job, they have their wife, they have their kids, they have, their responsibilities, and all of that is stress. But as soon as they step into the cigar lounge, a big chunk of weight comes off their shoulders, and then as soon as they go in the humidor and buy a cigar, another chunk of weight comes off their shoulders. They cut that cigar, another chunk of weight. They smell the cigar, another chunk of weight. And as soon as they light that cigar and sit down, they are free of all their burdens.
I agree with you. That's what it's like for me.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
I understand that. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. Now you know why we love Artie on the radio. And I want to remind you, starting next week, Artie will be on 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with his own show, Smoke Signals with Artie. Artie the Cigar Guy. Check it out. Tune in. I want to thank all our listeners around the world who listen to us every night.
Yeah, really quick, guys. I'm doing a lot of stuff online that I want to bring up. Okay, I have my Instagram page. That's Ashhole NYC, ASHHOLE NYC. I have a ton of great content on there. I post a lot about really expensive cigars, very unique cigars, things that you'll probably not hear on other Instagram pages. Really, really, really interesting stuff, memes, and historical cigar stuff. I know all this shit sounds weird, but I promise you love all of it. So please check out my Instagram account, and also check out my YouTube account, which is called the exact same thing, Ashhole NYC, ASHHOLE NYC. Over there, I already have about 70 videos up, 65 of them being reviews, and the other 5 are actually Johnny Mandolin Show.
So check it out, because Artie's coming on board. So in the meantime, thank you for listening. I want to thank Sexton Records for supporting our radio show, Maria Nello for appearing. And once again, always tune in. We're on every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. in California. Thanks to my listeners. A shout out to Phil Gonzalez, to Mia Berman. I really appreciate you listening. You guys are wonderful. Tune in next week to the Johnny Mandolin Show. Thanks to Jade, our engineer, keeping us on the air and honest, City World Radio, and to ItalianAmericanRadio.com. Thanks, Artie.
No problem. See you
Take
guys
care.
soon.
Bye now.
We all want our kids to